Hi there. So glad you've joined us for another weekend edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am Adrian Atkinson. Today we'll be sharing more of what you need to know about COVID-19 and the vaccine. We're also going on a trip to explore rural economic development, plus how we can protect the environment for sustainable livelihood. Sit back and relax with these and more informative features right after this important message.
The government of Jamaica is introducing shared corporate services to revolutionize the way it operates. Shared corporate services will utilize the latest technology, leaner processes and service standards to drive efficiency and effectiveness in the public sector. The Transformation Implementation Unit is working to streamline public services in 7 operational areas: human resource management, information and communication technology, asset management, procurement, finance and accounts, public relations and communication, as well as internal audit. Shared corporate services is a tried and proven way of improving the delivery of public services. The government of Jamaica is transforming to serve its citizens better. We're building a better public sector for all. Brought to you by the Transformation Implementation Unit.
Jamaicans are a people with a vibrant entrepreneurial spirit. Given the opportunity and the right support, they can and will do what it takes to become economically independent. That's on display in our next feature, where you'll see how the Rural Economic Development Program is helping persons to build profitable and sustainable businesses.
The National Development Plan Vision 2030 Jamaica outlines several goals to empower all Jamaicans to reach their fullest potential. A key step in achieving this target is creating equal opportunities to make a living from our abundant resources. The Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, through the Rural Economic Development Initiative READY, is doing just that by improving the earning potential of persons in rural areas operating in the agriculture and tourism sectors. The first phase of the program, which ended in 2017 after a 7-year run, provided benefits to over 19,000 micro and small-scale rural agricultural producers, as well as tourism product and service providers. Now, READY is set for its second phase.
We want to improve the linkages of agriculture to tourism. We want to improve the ability of farmers to have climate-resilient methodologies. That's drip irrigation, for example, protected agriculture. We want to improve the ability of community tourism enterprises to develop and become licensed to provide your services to our international guests.
With the support of a $40 million loan from the World Bank, READY 2 starts in 2020.
We want to enhance the competitiveness of both sectors. So we want to link our producers into strategic value chains, taking it from the primary production stage up through to the market, linking them not just to domestic markets but also to exports, as well as to build out more agritourism type ventures.
READY 2 will continue to build on partnerships with key government ministries, agencies and departments. These entities will receive technical assistance to improve their capacity to serve project beneficiaries. Across the island, especially in rural areas, cultivators depend on earning potential from farming to sustain themselves and their families. Lack of access to markets, climate change and unsustainable farming practices, however, continually threaten their livelihoods. READY 2 will seek to address those issues.
As it relates to climate resilient approaches, it involves looking at the farming practices, integrating more environmentally sound or green technologies in production, as well as in terms of alternative power or energy sources.
Registered farmers who are members of a cooperative or benevolent society are encouraged to apply for support to establish greenhouses, drip irrigation, water harvesting and storage systems, as well as other climate-smart land and soil conservation measures.
We also have a training component to ensure that the beneficiary group is prepared for business, because this is what Ready 2 is all about, is to develop businesses among rural communities. These groups have to be legally registered, either as a cooperative, a benevolent society, or a special authorized society, but they have to be legally registered.
The project will target vulnerable groups such as women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Groups are encouraged to incorporate these individuals in their associations for inclusiveness.
Everything that you see on the farm right now is from Ready. The plastic, the mesh, the irrigation system, the drums, everything. And we even receive training through them, all the necessary trainings that you would need to operate a greenhouse and to supply the wider market.
The project helped us in finding market. We got the market through RADA.
It has improved my life in the sense that I'm not financially dependent on anyone. I'm my own boss, so I choose the times I work, and it's working out quite well for me.
So in case we hadn't got assistance with any market for onions, we probably would have had onions sat around and spoil, or we might have had to give it away. However, we got that assistance and it was a profit.
And for those farmers who usually experience seasonal gluts, support will be given to construct more post-harvest and cold storage facilities.
Welcome to Charlestown Maroon Museum and a Software.
Jamaica's culture is like no other, and there is great potential for communities with unique cultural, historical, and natural resources to share their experiences with the world and advance their neighborhoods through community tourism enterprises, CTEs.
Charlestown Maroon Council had received maximum aid or assistance from Ready 1 and is looking forward to move on to Ready 2.
Under Ready 1, we did a lot of infrastructure investment, capacity building, training in Team Jamaica, in business, all the foundational work that would be required. And community tourism enterprises are now really ready to go into the big leagues.
CTEs will receive support in areas such as business planning, identifying target markets, product development, tour packaging, and marketing and promotion to expand their ventures.
The Charlestown Maroon community in itself has been benefiting from it. The people of the community, they are now able to come and they display their goods such as their craft, their fruits, their different things that they have done, and the tourists would buy what they have.
The Ready 2 project is poised to build and strengthen enterprises to improve Jamaica's agricultural production as well as tourism products and services in rural areas. Get more information on the project's benefits, eligibility, and access by contacting the Jamaica Social Investment Fund.
By order, under the Disaster Risk Management Act, you must wear a mask in all public access places and in public transportation. If you wear a mask and I wear a mask, we are all safer.
We continue to look at sustainable livelihoods, and that naturally leads us to the environment. On this next leg of our journey through the magazine, we explore how eliminating substances that are ozone depleting will protect against the damaging effects of climate change and support our very survival. The impact of climate change is far-reaching. The summers are getting warmer and the winter months are becoming increasingly colder. It is with this in mind that the government of Jamaica is playing its part to manage the impacts of climate change. Through a collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, preparatory activities are underway to enable Jamaica to ratify and implement the 2016 Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol on Substances that Deplete the Ozone Layer. The Montreal Protocol fulfilled the objectives of the Vienna Convention for the protection of the ozone layer. It is a global environmental agreement originally signed in 1987 by countries across the world and ratified by Jamaica in 1993. This agreement seeks to phase out the use and production of ozone-depleting materials, such as chlorofluorocarbons, more commonly known as CFCs. CFCs were invented in the 1930s for use in the refrigeration sector and as propellants for aerosols. Increased consumption of refrigerants in motor vehicles, refrigerators and air conditioning units, as well as foam insulation, resulted in damage to the ozone layer, which is the protective shield that protects the Earth from the harmful rays of the sun. Damage to the ozone layer can cause devastating harm to human life, health, and the environment. As time progressed, newer refrigerants such as hydrochlorofluorocarbons, more commonly known as HCFCs, were introduced as alternatives to CFCs. These substances were seen as less likely to damage the ozone layer. With the advent of the technological era, studies showed that HCFC is a powerful greenhouse gas that contributes to the depletion of the ozone layer. Even later still, it was determined that while HFCs were not considered to be ozone depleting, they too were powerful greenhouse gases that contributed to global warming, which intensifies climate change. With this new information, countries sought the best alternatives to ensure the protection of the ozone layer, being mindful of the effects of climate change. By 2007, countries around the world agreed to advance the phase-out of HCFCs by the year 2040. As work continued for a cleaner, healthier environment, the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol added HFCs to the list of controlled substances to be phased down. The amendment was agreed on in 2016 and became effective in January 2019. This amendment is seen as a significant tool in the fight against climate change. As of November 2019, 81 countries have ratified the amendment and have agreed to control the production and use of HFCs by phasing down its usage by 80% by the year 2045. Under this amendment, the use of modern, more environmentally friendly refrigerants like carbon dioxide, propane and ammonia are now being encouraged and will later be enforced. As part of its commitment to protecting the ozone layer and the environment, Jamaica is currently implementing the first stage of the HCFC Phase-Out Management Plan project. This project is being implemented by the UNDP through a partnership with the National Environment and Planning Agency NEPA with funding from the Montreal Protocol. Of the main achievements of the project, the three main results achieved so far includes the introduction of the 2014 Trade Order, which now restricts the importation of HCFCs based on a licensing and quota system. Phasing out of the use of HCFCs in the foam sector and a significant reduction in the use of HCFCs in the refrigeration and air conditioning sector, as well as strengthening the capacity of refrigeration and air conditioning technicians in best practices through capacity building sessions, as well as the provision of personal protective equipment kits. In order for the Kigali Amendment to take effect in Jamaica, it has to be ratified. Before this can happen, laws have to be reviewed and amended as necessary. Additionally, a licensing and quota system for the importation and consumption of HFCs, similar to that of HCFCs, has to be created. 4 steps are required in the ratification process. Currently, Jamaica is at step 1, and consultations are now being held to prepare a cabinet submission. Once approved, the country can move to the preparation and enactment of laws. This is followed by the preparation of another cabinet submission for ratification, and finally, depositing the instrument with the United Nations, after which Jamaica becomes bound by the treaty within 90 days. You may be wondering how this affects you. For persons in the refrigeration and air conditioning sector, get ready to make the unavoidable switch to more environmentally friendly refrigerants and reduce the use of substances that contain HCFCs and HFCs. This will lead to a safer and healthier environment for all. The general public and consumers also stand to benefit from cost savings. New appliances and vehicles coming into the country, some of which are already here, will be equipped to use these modern, more environmentally friendly refrigerants. The time is now to make the switch to protect the environment. So join us in helping to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Jamaica, on the road to ratification of the Kigali Amendment.
Whatever illness you might have, it is important to visit the doctor at the earliest sign of sickness. For many conditions, early detection can lead to better outcomes. Don't stay at home and self-medicate and allow your condition to worsen before going to the doctor.
If you are a youngster, young child, 14 and younger, older person, or you have a compromised immune system, you have an underlying illness, a cancer patient, a diabetic patient, then your system is compromised. You need to see the doctor quickly and let the doctor prescribe.
Visiting your doctor early protects your health, so you can enjoy more moments, more life.
Persons with comorbid or underlying conditions, including issues of the heart, are found to fare the worst upon contracting the novel coronavirus. So we are again urging you to take all precautions to avoid falling ill with the virus. Watch our next feature for a clearer picture of why this is so important and how to protect your health.
The Heart Foundation of Jamaica, as you all know, is a charitable organization which has been operating in Jamaica for 50 years now. And the Heart Foundation of Jamaica's mission is to reduce the prevalence of cardiovascular disease, that's diseases of the heart and blood vessels, in the Jamaican population. We are particularly interested in COVID-19 at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, not only because we have been affected by all the economic, financial, social restrictions, but also because COVID-19 seems to have a particular impact in people with heart disease. And even in people who don't have heart disease, there are cardiac complications which develop as a result of COVID-19. One of the mandates of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, one of the messages that we want to give is this: continue following up your medical conditions, continue screening for heart disease and the risk factors for heart disease.
In terms of the screening, the cost of doing the heart test or the ECG is $2,500. This would include meeting with the registered nurse, having the ECG done. If it's abnormal, it will be read by a cardiologist. It also includes a blood pressure check and the height and the weight check. We would also recommend a blood sugar test, which is $600, a finger prick, you get your result in 3 minutes, and a total cholesterol check, $1,200, which also is the same finger prick to your blood sugar check. So in all, maybe about just over $4,000 would give you a full screening. Based on that, we would then refer you, if necessary, to one of our several cardiologists or nutritionists if you need help with your diet.
As with other infectious diseases, the emphasis is on prevention, early detection and isolation, and also management of cases to prevent persons from having serious illness and death. What we have seen is that persons with comorbidities are 96 more times likely to have moderate and severe illnesses, and are over 100 times more likely than persons without chronic illnesses to die. Many have more than one comorbidities, with a combination of cardiovascular disease and diabetes being quite common. The most common comorbidity and risk factor for death is age over 60 years. Our national surveys have shown that a significant portion of our elderly persons have comorbid illnesses, of which cardiovascular disease is the most common. The Ministry of Health and Wellness have therefore prioritized prevention in these groups to prevent or reduce risk of exposure. Hence, the stay at home, wearing your mask, maintain physical distance. The Disaster Risk Management Act pulls these persons out in having the stay at home order for the elderly persons. And of course, regardless of whether you're at home or in the community, you have to maintain the precautions at all times. It is therefore important that these vulnerable groups ensure that they maximize their ability to fight the disease if they should become exposed. And this includes healthy lifestyle choices, exercise, diet, keeping well hydrated, rest and relaxation, but also care for your chronic illness with regular physical examinations, compliance with medication, and timely and appropriate screening are important in order to ensure that you're able to fight the disease if you should become exposed, and of course that you should seek care early. We have sought to increase persons getting continued care by increasing the use of telemedicine, by increasing the length of prescriptions, and by instituting a home delivery for medications for elderly persons.
Many Jamaicans have been going out to get the COVID-19 vaccine to inoculate against the virus. While that is happening, it is important for us to follow protocols and share the facts, truthful information about COVID-19 and the vaccines. So, let's get some of your questions answered before we end today's journey.
You've gotten your first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. What's next? First of all, just to remind you that AstraZeneca is a highly effective vaccine. The overall efficacy in the initial studies have shown 70% efficacy, which means that you have a 70% reduction in symptomatic disease in persons who have received the vaccine compared to those who have not. And I just put together a little slide to explain what that means. On the left of the slide, if I have 100 persons who have not received vaccines in the dark blue, and I have 100 persons who have been vaccinated, and everybody has been exposed to COVID. In the group that has received no vaccinations, then maybe 90 or so persons could get, let's say that 90 people get COVID. These 90 people that get COVID could either get a mild, moderate, or severe illness. In the group that have gotten vaccinated, 70%, and this is what the efficacy is, 70% less than the persons who got it in the not vaccinated group will get COVID, 70% less. So that if you take the numbers, if it was 90 who got it in the no vaccination group, it's going to be 63 less than that gets it in the vaccinated group. And importantly, the persons who get it in the vaccinated group are going to have a mild disease. They are not going to have severe illness that is going to result in hospitalizations or death. So it's a win-win. It's either you don't get it, or if you get it, it's going to be a mild disease. The main aim of the vaccine is to reduce severe illness, hospitalizations, and deaths. It has been shown to be 100% effective in reducing severe illness, hospitalizations, and deaths, as no person who received the vaccine in the studies that were done developed severe disease or died. The vaccine consists of 2 doses. You are only considered to be fully vaccinated 14 days or thereabouts after your second dose. the protection against COVID-19 increases after the first dose, and it is best after receiving the second dose, approximately 8 to 12 weeks after the first dose. Now, it will go up as high as over 80% efficacy, and it is effective in all age groups over the age of 18. Now, after you've taken the first dose, the protection that you get, this 70-odd% efficacy rate, actually decreases over time. And what some new studies are showing, or reports are showing, is that after 90 to 120 days, you're getting as low as 31% efficacy rate. So there is a considerable decrease in the protection that is afforded if you do not get the second dose of the vaccine. Now, if you have been exposed to COVID before or after you've had your first dose, some persons will still get COVID. The vaccine does not give you COVID. There's no virus in the vaccine. The symptoms you develop within 24 to 72 hours after is your body reacting to the vaccine. It is not that you're having COVID, or it's not that you're having mild COVID symptoms. It is just your body's reaction to the vaccine. However, remember that we are still in community phase, the community transmission phase, and so many persons around you may have COVID. Now, if you are infected in the first days after the vaccine, you will have no protection from the vaccine, and therefore you may develop a severe illness. Now, after about 2 to 3 weeks with the vaccine on board, and remember, it is not going to prevent everyone from getting COVID. You may get COVID, but if your body has started now to develop some immunity, it will be a mild illness. But it is still possible to transmit COVID to others who may not be vaccinated, and they may get a severe illness. So, therefore, how do you protect yourself in this period? How do you protect others? You need to continue to do the same thing that we have been speaking about all this time. You have to wear your mask, you have to practice physical distancing, you have to hand sanitize, you have to sanitize frequently used areas, you have to stay at home if you are sick, and all the other things that we have said in terms of infection prevention and control. These still are, in fact, that you must do them still, because you can get COVID and you can transmit it. So you must. And then after we have all gotten fully vaccinated, 2 doses on board, a good percentage of the population, 60% of the population vaccinated, then we can get back to life.
We have come to the end of another wonderful journey. Thanks so much for your company. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another show. Until then, continue to watch these and other programs by logging on to our website, gis.gov.jm, or subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Until next time, stay COVID-free and do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.